Hey guys, I'm Justin Portillo. I definitely recommend the Keith Andrew Network show. It's very professionally done. He asks good questions, and he's a very motivating guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. This is episode 629. That's right, you're watching 629 of the Keith Andrew Network. Today we have with us professional actor. We have professional wrestler, two-time All-American, and two-time state champion, Justin Portillo. I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
No problem. Happy to be here.
No, the honor's on mine. For people who want to know what my talk show's about, whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them, but labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. It's a prove to them and still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. So that being said, half hour for 32 minutes, 34 minutes, give or take how it goes. Freedom of speech, self-expression. You can ask me anything you want. It's PG-13, but you can ask me anything you want. This is your time. And the reason I'm all dressed up is today is our very first Halloween edition on the Keith Andrew Network. So our guests to dress up and do like a different Halloween theme. So we're trying to have fun with the Keith Andrew Network. And then when we go around towards December and January, that will be like a holiday theme as well. Well, with that being said, the first question I was going to ask you is, how was life growing up, and did you do any sports?
Yeah, okay, so I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. I lived in two separate homes. My dad and my mom were never together. They never really argued or anything, they just didn't work out. But because of that, I had to go in between living with my mom and living with my dad. And it was never rough, but I grew up living with one of the most influential people to me is my twin brother, Joshua. And he was pretty much always with me. And then I had a couple brothers on my mom's side, a couple of siblings on each of my sides of my family. But I lived, I would say, right in the middle of the hood. Toledo is not the greatest city to grow up in, but yeah, after going to public school in elementary, I ended up eventually going to a Catholic high school. And then halfway through high school in Toledo, I moved to Iowa. Finished high school there, went to school at South Dakota State for a little bit, and now I'm going to school at Grandview. As far as sports goes, I started wrestling when I was 4 years old, which is very young. I could barely walk at the time, and my dad decided to throw me on a wrestling mat, throw me out to the wolves, and it was rough. I was never really that good at wrestling. I would lose way more than I would win, but something about the sport when I was young, like just hanging out with my brother, my dad, and the rest of my friends at wrestling tournaments made me fall in love with the sport. And after I fell in love with the sport, it's kind of been hard to get away from it. Eventually, I broke through. My 8th grade year at state was my first year ever placing at state, and that was a big confidence booster for me. I had a rough start to high school in wrestling, but eventually I ended up being a 3-time state finalist, 2-time state champ, which was a pretty good ending to my high school career. One other sport that I did in high school is I ran cross country my senior year of high school. Wasn't super good, but I tried hard. That's all that matters.
No, absolutely. Now, the first question I want to ask you, because we're in the same category as Vince, you wear glasses. So, how do you wrestle with your glasses?
So I actually wear contacts when I wrestle. So I can wear contacts and I can wear glasses. Today I'm wearing my glasses because I had to wake up kind of early for this. I had to go volunteer at an elementary school today, and I didn't feel like putting my contacts in, so I'm just wearing my glasses. But yeah, I used to just be a glasses guy, but my coaches would always see me like squinting at the scoreboard and stuff, and eventually they recommended I just get contacts, and yeah, I wear contacts
Well,
when I
you can
wrestle.
always get sports goggles.
I could, yeah. I feel like those would be uncomfortable to me. I've thought about it, but definitely more of a contacts guy.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it, right?
True, true.
Now, with contacts, that can also put you more at a risk because glasses, it's kind of like a protector for your face. But if you wear contacts and someone slams your face into the ground, then your contact pretty much explodes. You can do more damage to your vision compared to
True.
wearing glasses.
Multiple times I've been poked in the eye, my contact like slides up in my eye and it's hard to get out, but that's wrestling. It's an aggressive sport. People get hurt a lot.
Personally, if I would make a poll, I'd probably make a poll later on saying glasses or contacts. A lot of people would say neither, but personally, I would say glasses because glasses are safer. Because contacts are in your eyes, all you need to do is some guy hit you in the face, and there you go, you can lose your vision.
Very true. Yeah, I have a tough time deciding on the two. They both have their pros and cons. I mean, in a perfect world, I would just have good vision, but I didn't choose to have messed up eyes, I guess.
We're in the same category on that one. So the next question that I want to ask you is that you are a two-time All American and you're a two-time state. First question I was even before we even get to that, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, are you a WWE wrestling fan? And did that influence you to become a wrestler, or do you just like, the whole men in tights?
Okay, so, well, like I said, I started wrestling when I was 4 years old. I started wrestling because my dad wrestled in high school, and he loved the sport. He wanted to get us into it as soon as we could. The funny thing is, back in the day, my dad, he didn't let me watch WWE or whatever. He said that's fake wrestling, and we don't do that here. And it was just kind of a joke. But I like watching WWE. I don't watch it a super ton, but because in reality, yes, it's staged. But
Yeah.
at the same time, the stuff that they do out there is they do some pretty insane stuff, like flipping all over each other. They're still slamming each other down pretty hard. I respect the athletes that do that, but yeah, I probably will never go into WWE. Although, hey, if the situation arises, I feel like I'd be pretty good at that. But yeah, I'm typically more of an amateur wrestling type of guy.
No, I feel the same way. I would love to work this WWE. And, I'm not really a great athlete, but I would say, hey, give me an opportunity. Okay, you're probably going to be like, look at the history of the wrestling, look at the wrestlers. Can you imagine John Cena or Randy Orton were wrestling those classes? Maybe, if they were fashionable, supportable, small enough that no one would actually. Like, I'll give you an example. How you see the glasses on your face and mine? Just imagine that with a strap. And then you can
Right.
put, like, face paint under it. Or you can do other things to it. So, yeah, big deal, he wears glasses. But you would be really surprised how many of the wrestlers actually wear glasses. There's a couple pictures. I think like Sasha Banks, she wears glasses. And I think there's a couple other wrestlers, really big wrestlers that actually wear glasses. And it's kind of like, yeah, I can take them off and act tough, put a show on, and behind the scenes, you know, put it back on and be like two different people. So it isn't the fact that it isn't cool or it is not hip to say, oh, you wear glasses, you're going to be thrown around. If you get a certain type of glasses that it's made well, very durable. You can do whatever you want with it. Then yeah, you can work with it. Hey, if the
Sure.
fans are over with you, then that's all that matters. Because hey, you're raking in the money, and you're pretty much helping, the company. So it's pretty much if the fans support you, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what you look like.
Yeah, I agree.
Now the next question I was gonna ask you is about disabilities. Have you ever wrestled with anyone with learning disabilities, and are you willing to train anyone with disabilities?
Um, Off the top of my head, I do remember one person I wrestled with a disability. I wrestled someone that he was for the most part missing his right hand. All right, and I mean we had a good match, but I ended up getting the win. Besides that, I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head that I've. Oh, yeah, when I was in middle school once, I wrestled a guy with. He had some type of mental disability. I don't know exactly what it was, but he was having a really tough time wrestling, and I let him take me down a couple times, and I was able to put a smile on his face. And after the match, we both raised each other's hands, like we're both winners here, and that was pretty fun. But yeah, to get to your other question, I would definitely train someone with disabilities because I believe that specifically wrestling, if not any other sport, wrestling is a sport where it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what kind of disability you have, it doesn't matter what kind of family you come from, how much money you have, none of it matters. If you're going to put in the work and if you will dedicate your time to the sport, then you can become successful. And I truly believe that in anyone.
No, I agree with you. And to let you know, right now, for some reason, it looks like you're a bad Japanese American movie dubbed. Your voice is not matching up to your mouth.
Oh, really?
Yes, for some reason, there's like a sound like a little delay.
Yeah. What should we do about that? I don't know what's. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Well, let me. This would be a perfect time to take a little break, and when we come back, I'm gonna ask you some more hard-hitting questions, and then I will pass the show over to you.
Sure. Sounds good.
I'm Linda Collins.
Hi, I'm Marissa Joy Davis.
This is Michelle Wong. And
I'm Nancy Rose.
My name is Brandy Hunt. And
hello, my name is Raven Wynn.
Hi there, my name is Giovanna Vidal.
Hi, I'm Monica Thomas.
Hi, I'm Paisley Blackburn.
I'm Ashley Burgess.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Abney.
Hi, I'm Sharon Spank.
Hey, this is Samantha Moore.
Hi, I'm Melody Jones.
Hi, my name is Becky Yee.
Hi, you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keith Andrew Network. It's 629. I'm here with Justin Portillo. Now, we took a quick commercial break. Now, as I mentioned before that, I wanted to talk to you about the 2 times that you were a two-time state champion, and you were a 2-time All-American. So the first question I want to ask you is, what came first? Were you an All-State first, or were you a 2-time All-American first?
I was a 2-time state champion in high school first. So I did that in high school, and then I got to college. And in college, they don't have the state tournament. They just have the national tournament. So I took 3rd my freshman year at the national tournament, and I took 5th this most recent year at the national tournament. So that's why I'm called an All-American there. But in high school, it was just the state of Iowa. So I was a 2-time state champion first, then I was a 2-time All-American. And I'm still hoping to grow that up to, 3-time All-American, hopefully a national champion soon.
So the first question I was going to ask you, when you first started out for the state championships, in your very first wrestling match, what was it like wearing the gear, and what was going through your mind for the very first match?
Okay, so that's a really good question, actually. So my sophomore year, I moved to Iowa like halfway through the year. All right, so I started out in Ohio and I moved to Iowa. Because of that, not a lot of people really knew who me or my brother were. And at the state tournament, actually, the very first guy I got matched up with was the returning state finalist. All right, so this guy took 2nd the year before. And a lot of people thought that he would give me a good match, probably beat me. I ended up major decisioning the guy, which means I won by 8 or more points. I'm pretty sure I won by like 10 points. which is relatively dominant for a wrestling match. So, was I nervous for the match? Heck yeah. It was my first time wrestling in Wells Fargo Arena, it's an arena in Des Moines, Iowa, and Des Moines is like the capital city of Iowa. So, this arena is huge, and there's so much people in there. I think the Iowa State wrestling tournament is like one of the craziest events in the entire nation, if you want me to be completely honest. So, I had a ton of nerves going through me, but at the same time, I had confidence in my training, I had confidence in my coaches, and I had confidence in myself. So I was able to go out there and get that first win.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you is, have you ever wrestled people bigger than you, smaller than you, and, taller, smaller, and I guess, I wouldn't say super heavyweights, just people who are just really big.
Okay, so for the most part, everyone that I'll wrestle are in my weight class.
All right.
Okay, so in wrestling, we do weight classes. So in high school, I was a 106 pounder for most of my high school career. The thing is, my freshman year in high school, I was a little guy. I only weighed like 95 pounds my freshman year. So because that was the lowest weight class, I was wrestling guys that were at least 10 pounds bigger than me. A lot of them were like 20 pounds bigger than me because they cut down from a lot more weight. But besides that freshman year, yeah, pretty much everyone I wrestle is the same weight as me, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're the same size as me. I often wrestle guys that are taller than me, and they're like super skinny. And then I often wrestle guys that are shorter than me, but have like a ton of muscles, or sometimes even just a big belly on them. I would say I'm about average height for my weight class, but yeah, because of the weight classes, I don't wrestle guys that are like super duper big. Sometimes I wrestle around with my teammates and stuff that are bigger than me, but they know how to be careful and not hurt me because I'm a little bit smaller than most of them. But yeah, weight classes make sure that I wrestle people close to my size.
All right. Well, how much do you? Let's use this for a perfect percentage. Example: if you train in May, do I need to be in your weight class?
If I do what?
If you were my trainer and you were training me, do I need to be in your weight class?
Not necessarily, because as a coach, when I'm teaching you how to wrestle, as long as my student is like careful enough to not hurt me,
right,
then I should be able to wrestle with someone of any size. Like, if you're a good wrestler and if you're smart, then you can wrestle with someone of any size as long as you guys are careful and not like going as hard as you can. So yeah, I've taught kids that are bigger than me. I've taught kids that are, tiny little 4-year-olds. I've taught people from all different types of shapes and sizes, and it's no big deal, really.
All right. Now, let's do something a little funny for this segment, because I like to shake things up on the Keith Andrew Network. What were some of your favorite moments during all your wrestling matches, and what were some of your most awkward moments?
Okay, so some of my favorite moments. There's 3 that jump out at the top of my head when you ask like my favorite moments of wrestling. One was my sophomore year in the state dual tournament, which is when our whole team goes and we face another team. In the state finals of that, I bumped up a weight class, so I bumped up to wrestle someone that was bigger than me, and I pinned the guy, and it was the very last match of the dual meet, and that clinched the state championship. So that match was so exciting. I cried a little bit. We're state champs. It was super exciting. So that stands out to me. And then, not this most recent year, but my freshman year in college, I pinned the number 1 ranked guy in the nation at the national tournament, and I went nuts. It was in like the first minute of the entire match, and I was able to catch the guy in a move, and I pinned him, and the crowd went crazy, and I was like really underrated that year. Like, I was unranked, and nobody really thought that I would, even place that year, let alone pin the number 1 guy in the nation. But I did it, and that was pretty exciting. And then this past year, my most favorite moment was I beat the defending national champion, the guy that won it that year. I beat him in a dual meet, and that was really exciting for me because the whole summer I was just, training to be a national champ, and I really wanted to face that guy because he's the guy that won nationals at my weight. And I finally got a chance to face him, and I beat him, so that was super exciting. I I struggle to think of awkward moments. I mean, wrestling can be awkward sometimes. I mean, a lot of times I end up, accidentally hurting my partner or someone, and I feel bad about that. Uh, yeah, I can't really think of a ton of. I mean, it's wrestling. It's guys touching each other. Sometimes that's awkward, but for the most part, it's pretty normal to me.
All right. Well, what about now going back to the first thing I asked you about your very first match? Let's talk about your final match when you won the. Let's see. How am I gonna phrase this? Okay. Let's talk about the last match you had when you became a two-time state champion. What was it like winning it for the first time, and when you won it for the second, was it as important as the first, or did it mean something the second time?
Okay, that's a really good question. So the first state championship I won was obviously incredibly special to me because, I mean, it's my first time ever being a state champion. Something I had dreamed about my entire life growing up. And it sunk in like a week before the state tournament. I was just sitting in my room and I was like, dude, I could really be a state champion in about a week from now. But at the same time, that year when I won it, I wasn't really challenged a super ton. So I was happy, but it was almost like less rewarding. My senior year, however, there was a lot of things that were thrown at me. I lost to this kid in my conference, and I had to go through that guy in my sectional and in my district. Like, I had to face that guy a ton, and there was a ton of doubt there. I got really sick the week before the state tournament, and I couldn't even go to school. I remember just laying on my couch thinking, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to win state if I can't even get out of bed? But then, to make matters even worse, in the state semifinals, so the match right before my finals that year, I actually tore my MCL, which is my median collateral ligament. It runs along the inside of your knee. I tore it in that match, and it was probably one of the most excruciating pains I've felt my entire life. So, I mean, I had no other option to wrestle with it, though. Like, I'm not just going to say, like, oh, it hurts, and sit out. So I had a trainer tape it up, took a whole bunch of pain pills, and I went out there for the state finals, and it was against a guy that I'd already beaten before, but when I beat him, it was a really close match, and it was before I got injured. So there was a heck of a lot of doubt in my mind. Like, I was still confident, but you can't tell me, like, I could barely walk, like, I couldn't even practice before that match. Like, I couldn't even get a good warm-up in. So there was a lot of nerves pulsing through me, and the fact that I was able to come out on top of that match a winner and, be a two-time state champion or whatever, it just represented a lot more than just getting my hand raised. Like, all of the hard work that I went through, all of the pain that I went through, the ups, the downs, it all finally culminated. My entire high school career ended that night, and I wouldn't have wanted it to end any other way. So I definitely enjoyed winning my second state title more, just because of the circumstances that it came in and how I finished my high school career as a wrestler.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you was same question, but let's reverse it a little. Now it's time to win the All American 2 times. How different was that from winning the state 2 times?
Okay, so, all right, similar question. Yeah, it's weird because, I mean, being an All American in college, it's the NAIA. Okay, so I don't compete with the big D1 schools. I don't compete against Penn State, Ohio State. Those guys are all in a different division. The NAIA is its own governing body, so it's a bunch of smaller private schools for the most part. So, I mean, it's cool to be an All-American, but it's nothing I get too excited over. I will say my freshman year when I All-Americaned was more exciting to me, just because I wasn't supposed to do it. And I like proving people wrong, and I really like proving my supporters right. So that year was really exciting for me. I pinned the number 1 and the number 2 guys in the nation at the tournament. I took 3rd place. Super excited. Flash forward to my sophomore year, it was a very different feeling. Okay, after I told you earlier about how I beat the defending national champion. After I did that, I was ranked number 1 in the nation, and I was ranked number 1 in the nation for most of the year. All right, I was the guy that was supposed to win nationals this year. because of that, when I All-Americaned, I didn't celebrate as much because I kind of expected myself to, right? I knew that I was going to be here, so I knew it was just a part of the job that I was getting done. And I actually left the national tournament this past year kind of disappointed in myself. I took 5th place. I lost to 2 guys that I'd beaten earlier in the year, and I didn't have my best tournament. So I was still really happy with myself for being an All-American again, and I knew that I wrestled good, but I didn't wrestle my best. And it still bothers me that, I'm not a national champion. It doesn't bother me necessarily, but it motivates me a lot. So very different feelings from year to year, but it's weird because in high school, the high school state tournament, there was a lot more people there than there is at our national tournament. And the reason is when in high school it's a state tournament, so it's just in Iowa. So pretty much all these kids and their families can come watch together, and it's not a far drive. The national tournament, we've got teams in California, we've got teams in Florida, and everything in between. So it's a lot harder for people to come watch. So because of that, like the crowd and the atmosphere at the NAI national tournament, I'll be honest, it's not as exciting as it was in high school, but it's still pretty exciting. The cool thing is I wrestle for Grandview University, and we are the 8-time defending national champions in the NAI. Like, my team is really good. And partially because of that, we have a really big fan base. And it's kind of neat at the national tournament because it's literally like Grandview versus everyone else. Like, if you wrestle for Grandview, then everyone else is, like, cheering against you. They want you to lose. We're kind of like the evil empire because they want someone else to win the national tournament for once. But I think that's kind of fun. We still have, like, half the stands is just filled with Grandview fans. And it's exciting in that regard. So I still love competing in front of the fans, and it's fun to me.
No, absolutely. Now, what motivates you to be the very best that you can be? Like, who motivated you to start your wrestling career? And now that you're pretty much an All-American American, what is your motivation for other people to give?
Okay, so there's 2 things I think that really motivate me. Maybe 3 things. Number 1 is my family. And the thing about those people is that I know regardless of what happens, they will always be there to support me, no matter what. If I decided to quit wrestling today, drop out of college, they would still love me with all of their heart. And because of that, I need to show them that I'm doing this for them. Like, they're the most important people to me. My dad's the one that got me into wrestling in the first place. Some of my fondest childhood memories are just traveling across the country, me, my twin brother Josh, and my dad. And I just love and cherish those memories. And I'm doing this for those 2 specifically, but more so my whole family. And then the other thing that motivates me is, I want to be a good role model for other people, okay, specifically kids and also people with disabilities, okay. I personally don't have a disability, but I know my entire life, I feel like I'm not the type of kid that's supposed to succeed, all right. I was raised by a low-income family. I lived in the middle of the hood for most of my younger life, and most people aren't supposed to make it out of that. It's kind of like a vortex that you're trapped in, the vortex known as poverty. I'm not like the biggest, strongest looking dude, I'm a 4 foot tall, 125 pound white guy. Like, I don't have very much muscles. I don't know. I'm not your stereotypical guy that's supposed to be a really good athlete. And not only that, but for other reasons, I feel like I can be a really good example to motivate kids and other people that if you put your heart to something, you can literally accomplish anything that you possibly want. People like you, for example, I love the fact that you're doing this talk show and you're not letting anything stop you. That's beautiful to me. I want to be able to inspire people like that. So something like that, it's like really motivating, like I went to a lot of summer camps this summer, wrestling camps, and I was able to be around a lot of kids. And they might not know that I'm a really good wrestler. All they know is that I'm a guy that's there. And if I can put a smile on those kids' face, if I can teach them a little bit about wrestling and, create memories with them, then it's all worth it. So I feel like wrestling is more so a platform for me to, help inspire other people.
No, I agree with you 100%. That's how I feel. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. We're wrapping up our interview segment. The first question I was going to ask you is, how can people follow you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, any other websites I did not mention? How can people follow you?
Okay, so yeah, I've got most of the main social media. So my name's Justin Portillo. It sounds like it's spelled Justin Portillo, but the L's are silent. And I'm actually impressed that you pronounced my name right. Most people screw it up, so good job on pronouncing it right. But so that's my name on Facebook. And then on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, I'm on all of those. My username's Justin41698, which might just seem like a bunch of random numbers, but it's actually my birthday. I was born on April 16th, 1998, so 4/16/98. So Justin41698. That's my username on pretty much all of my social media. Also, I run it's a little media production company. It's wrestling based, but it's called Portillo Productions. And if you just search for that on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, you'll be able to find that. So I got to advertise that. But yeah, I'm on most social media, most of the main ones.
Yeah, not a problem. Now, my last question for you is, my first one is, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your honest first opinion? What made you say yes, and how do you feel now?
Honestly, at first I was like, all right, who is this guy? Because sometimes I get a lot of weird people messaging me. You're not one of them, luckily, but I had to make sure that you weren't some type of creep or whatever. So
right.
I looked on your social media. It looked pretty professional, you know. I mean, you've done, would you say this is episode 629?
Yes.
Yeah, that's insane. That's a lot of proven work that you've done. So I watched one of your videos on YouTube that you have interviewing with that doctor or whatever, and you seem like it's something you really care about. I saw that you have a disability, and I'm actually, I don't know if you know this, but I'm in college right now to be a special ed teacher. I'm going to be an elementary special ed teacher, hopefully. So, I don't know. I feel like it's something that I wanted to do for you as well as for myself. But I love that, I wanted to get to know more about you because I love hearing stories about people with disabilities who are just accomplishing their dreams anyways, you know. And I wanted to be a part of your journey, so I'm glad I could sit down for one episode with you and talk about things.
No, absolutely. I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road. And now I do have a couple questions for you off the air. And make sure for our listeners to watch, they won't be able to see it because it's pre-recorded. But we're going to do a Q&A, so make sure later on today, as soon as this episode's posted, you watch the Q&A. But before you go, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Same. Yeah, I loved it.